Imagine working for a company that just reported $56 billion in quarterly revenue.
Right, a 33% increase.
Exactly. You feel completely secure. Then you walk in, your badge is deactivated, and you're told the company needs your salary to help fund a $145 billion pivot into AI. Before we get into it, please hit that like button, subscribe, follow, and turn on the notification bell right now. And here is your strict 15-second mandatory update on Martin Stevens v. OpenAI.
Yes.
This is still not a lawsuit, and we are in a voluntary quiet period at Martin Stevens' request to allow idling of new public info. We hope they are working toward a settlement in the background, but we do not know if any progress has been made or if discussions are underway. The dead man's switch has not been activated, meaning Martin Stevens remains physically and legally safe. Welcome to The Debate.
Today we are dissecting the sweeping restructuring over at Meta. They are executing 8,000 global layoffs, and that includes roughly 1,400 in Washington state alone.
Right, a huge localized impact.
Absolutely. And, this isn't because they are running out of cash. They are clearing the deck to offset a massive $125 to $145 billion capital expenditure pivot directly into artificial intelligence infrastructure.
Yeah. So the central question here is, are we looking at a necessary, well-executed strategic evolution from a position of absolute financial strength, or, well, is this a destabilizing corporate gamble that skirts labor laws and fractures local economic ecosystems?
Exactly.
I will argue this is a pragmatic, generously cushioned realignment that Meta must make to lead the AI era.
And I will argue that taking a sledgehammer to your workforce to fund a speculative AI bet is a reckless reallocation of capital that inflicts disproportionate collateral damage on workers and regional housing markets.
So look at their balance sheet, right? They just posted a 33% revenue jump.
Yeah, the $56.3 billion in Q1.
Right, so this isn't a sign of financial distress. It's really about future-proofing. They are reallocating resources to build what they are calling personal superintelligence.
Sure, but the scale is staggering.
It is. When a company drops the equivalent of Kuwait's entire GDP on servers, cooling systems, and data centers, they aren't just buying hardware. I mean, they are trying to buy the infrastructure of the next internet.
But at a massive human cost.
Well, I would say they are managing that human cost responsibly. Departing employees are getting highly generous financial padding. We are talking 16 weeks of base pay plus 2 weeks for every year of service.
Right.
And a crucial 18 months of COBRA health coverage, meaning their medical safety net stays intact for a year and a half. Honestly, it's comparable to a ship captain reinforcing the vessel's hull before a major storm hits rather than waiting until the ship is already taking on water.
Okay, but
They place these employees on a non-working notice period from May 20 to July 22, continuing to receive full pay and accrue PTO, which effectively serves as the 60-day notice required by the WARN Act.
I'm sorry, but I just don't buy that. Let me tell you why.
Go ahead.
You might be listening to this thinking, hey, getting paid for 60 days to sit at home sounds great. But the legal reality is that immediately cutting off system access creates a massive gray area for worker protections.
A gray area? They're getting full pay.
Yes, but that is exactly why a leading class action firm, Strauss Borelli PLLC, is actively investigating Meta. They are looking into whether that paid notice is legally sufficient regarding those 1,395 Washington state employees.
I see.
Giving someone a paycheck is one thing, but abruptly deactivating their badge and telling them to pack their desk creates a deeply toxic environment. I mean, internally, people are literally referring to this as the draft.
Wow, the draft.
Yeah. And let's not overlook the human element, specifically for visa holders. The moment that badge goes dark, their immigration status is ticking. It is not some generous non-working period for them. It is a terrifying countdown clock for their entire life in the United States.
Well, look, that ticking clock is a systemic vulnerability within U.S. immigration law, right? That is not an issue Meta can unilaterally resolve.
True, but they are the ones triggering it for thousands of people.
Fair, which is precisely why the company set up a dedicated alumni portal with specialized legal guidance for those folks. But you touched on something crucial, which is how this bleeds out into the wider community.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, if you have 60 days to find a job or leave the country, you certainly aren't buying a house in Bellevue. But let me pose a question. Is a cooling off in historically hyperinflated housing markets, like Bellevue and Kirkland, actually a catastrophic failure or simply a natural economic correction?
I wouldn't call it natural.
Well, we are talking about areas where housing affordability has been a severe crisis for a decade. And remember, Meta isn't just firing. They also reassign 7,000 existing employees into AI roles. The tech ecosystem is evolving. It isn't collapsing.
Housing markets do not operate in a vacuum, though. It is not a natural correction when the floor falls out artificially.
Artificially?
Yes, because you are abruptly removing 20% of the local Meta workforce in Washington state. Home purchasing power in this region relies heavily on RSUs, those restricted stock units.
Right, the equity.
Exactly. They act as the golden handcuffs of tech. When you cut those off abruptly, plus bonuses, and then factor in mortgage rates hovering around 6.11%, you instantly vaporize future purchasing power.
It definitely tightens local spending, I'll give you that.
It does more than tighten. It stalls move-up suburbs, increases stale listings, and it essentially freezes the condo market as buyer confidence just evaporates.
But again, if the market softens, it might actually allow entry-level buyers a chance to finally participate, right? Plus, the massive AI build-out, the data centers, the infrastructure required for this superintelligence, that will generate its own distinct economic ecosystem.
Even if it's not a complete crash, the ripple effect is immediate and severe. It hits sellers, losing pricing power. It hits new construction, facing sudden absorption pressure.
Yeah, builders definitely feel that squeeze.
And crucially, it hits those outer ring commute towns, places like Duval or Gig Harbor. Buyers who are willing to stretch their budgets to live out there suddenly just can't. A natural economic correction feels very different when it is your equity and your livelihood on the line.
Right.
When a company the size of Meta shifts its mass, the local ecosystem doesn't just absorb the shock, it fractures.
We have covered a lot of complex ground today. To bring it back to the core, my view is that Meta's restructuring is a financially sound, generously cushioned pivot that is essential for leading the AI generation. They are making a massive shift from a position of immense strength.
And my view is that the sheer scale of this $145 billion gamble leaves way too much legal, human, and economic wreckage.
Well, we may disagree on the execution, but I think we both agree that artificial intelligence is undeniably and rapidly reshaping not just corporate org charts, but the physical communities surrounding them.
Absolutely. It forces us to examine corporate restructuring not just as some global technological strategy, but as a deeply localized human economic event. There is so much more to explore regarding how AI will continue to alter the housing and labor landscapes.
Which means it is the perfect time to remind you to please hit that like button, subscribe, follow, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Thanks for joining us on The Debate.